In 2016, after 7 long years of development, Jonathan Blow's magnificent puzzle game The Witness was released to critical acclaim. But what you might not know, unless you're old like me, is that 33 years earlier, another game named The Witness was released. But this one didn't involve Jonathan Blow taking a massive slash into a big plastic bottle. Now, I've featured a couple of text adventures on this series before, but this, my friends, is the first time I've ever featured a game with absolutely no graphics at all. The Witness is pure interactive fiction, which means the only things you'll see on screen when you play it are words. Yep, you heard me right, no pictures at all. Nothing. Not even like, I don't know, a little stick man or something. Absolutely nothing. That means all the graphics had to be powered instead by your imagination. Ew. Published by Infocom, a studio famous for its interactive fiction games and in particular its Zork series, The Witness was originally released across a plethora of platforms, including the Amiga, Amstrad, Apple II and the TRS-80, which may sound like a Terminator from the future, but it was actually a home computer from the Tandy Corporation that came with a whopping 4K of internal memory, which explains why this footage of the game looks so shit. Written by Stu Galley, one of the co-founders of Infocom and author of such adventure hits as Moon Mist and Sea Stalker, The Witness casts you as a detective sent in to protect a local millionaire who's been on the receiving end of some rather nasty death threats. Set in 1938 and written in the style of pulp-era detective novels, The Witness takes place in a fictitious suburb of Los Angeles named Cabeza Plana. Cabeza Plana, by the way, is Spanish for flathead, which is a cheeky reference to the Flathead family from the Zork games. The entire game takes place inside the home of the recently widowed millionaire businessman Freeman Linder. Linda's wife, you see, has recently taken her own life after Linda discovered she'd been bonking someone behind his back. That someone, a Mr. Ralph Stiles, seems rather angry about the whole thing and is now intent on revenge, so it's up to you to protect Linda from harm. Or at least, that was your original aim, because not long after you arrive at the house, Linda is shot and killed by a shadowy figure. That's some pretty shitty protection work on your part, but at least there's now a murder to solve, so I guess your trip to Cabeza Plana wasn't entirely wasted after all. To solve the mystery, you play the game like any other text adventure, examining locations around the house for clues and talking to the small cast of characters, including Fong the butler, Linda's daughter Monica, and your faithful assistant Sergeant Duffy, whose job it is to analyse any evidence you find during the investigation. To help you on your way, each copy of The Witness came packaged with time period authentic props called Feelies, which provided useful background info and clues that could potentially help you crack the case. Unfortunately, I can't show you the physical versions of these Feelies because I don't own a copy of The Witness, and the only one I could find for sale on eBay was going for £99, which is an absolute piss take. Don't worry though, because I stumbled across this Lost Treasures of Infocom app on the iTunes Store. This app not only lets you play almost every Infocom release ever made, but it also comes with complete 3D scans of the original packaging of The Witness, plus all its Feelies for you to examine at your leisure. I mean, just look at that lovely matchbox spinning around there. It's like holding the real thing in your hand. Sort of. The Witness's Feelies also included a couple of pages from the Register newspaper, which, along with local news stories of the day, includes a section detailing the death of Mrs. Linda. There's also a telegram from Linda to the chief detective asking for protection from Stiles, and Mrs. Linda's final note to her daughter, where she pretty much lays all the blame for her suicide on Linda himself. Also included in the Lost Treasures of Infocom app is a map of the Linda house, something that was only available as a mail order bonus for people who purchased the game. Without this map, players would have needed to draw their own, or else risk getting confused as to their location around the house and grounds. It's also easier to picture locations of great importance to the story when you have this map, like the office where Linda is killed, or the bamboo woods where a vital clue is found. The Witness may be a primitive game by today's standards, but that didn't stop it from including a few nice little touches that we still see in modern video games today, like Easter eggs for instance. I've already mentioned the Cabeza Planner Easter egg, but there's also a much clearer reference in here to another game from Infocom's back catalogue. Make your way into the butler's room and you'll find a book on his bedside table. Open the pages and you'll find out that the book is actually a novel-length version of Deadline, a whodunit set in Connecticut. The text goes on to say that the book seems oddly familiar, and with good reason. Deadline was the first interactive detective novel from Infocom, and also the game that inspired Stu Galley to make The Witness. In fact, the character you play in The Witness is meant to be the same detective as the one in Deadline, which also features an appearance from your good friend Sergeant Duffy. Also, in a nice little Feelies Easter egg, you can also use the phone in Linda's office to call the number of the restaurant found on the front of the book of matches, although the person on the other end of the line isn't particularly helpful to your case. Another cool thing about The Witness is that it has multiple endings, all depending on how well you investigate the case. For instance, you can attempt to arrest a suspect at any time and charge them with the murder, but if the evidence isn't there to support your accusation, the jury will acquit the guilty party. You can also fail the case in other ways, like running out of time, there's a 24-hour deadline to solve the case, or by getting straight up murdered yourself. For instance, if you stand up just before the fatal shot is fired at Linda, you'll take the bullet for him, resulting in a rather painful death.
You turn around and dimly see a figure outside. Suddenly there is a flash of light and an explosion, and mortal pain radiates from your heart. As blood fills your lungs and a scream fills your brain, you feel sure of only one thing. You should have taken a chair when Linda asked you to.
Oof, brutal. Oh, and there's also a rather delightful little bug that paints your detective as a bit of a boozer. Type "get a drink" anywhere in the game on any version and a lovely whiskey will instantly appear in your hand as if by magic. There's no limit to how many times you can do this, so if you really want, you can just stand in the Linda's driveway and get smashed off your tits. Huh, that beats real police work any day. Oh, and you can also smell people because, well, why the hell not, I guess? There's one fatal flaw with The Witness though. Unlike Jonathan Blow's brain-busting masterpiece, Infocom's game is rather easy. That's not to say it's a walk in the park, it can take quite a few goes to fully unravel the mystery if you're playing without a solution. Overall though, it's probably the smallest game Infocom ever released in terms of content. Combine that with the fact that there are only really 3 potential suspects, Monica Linda, Ralph Stiles and Fong the Butler, and well, it doesn't really take too much prodding to work out who shot who with the what now. Although this game is probably older than most of the people watching this video, I'm not going to spoil the ending by telling you the killer's motives or how they did the deed. It's much more fun finding that out for yourself, especially as there's a note from the author at the end of the game that gives you a full summary of all the plot points you may have missed during your investigation, which was very thoughtful of him. So there we go, that was The Witness game you never knew existed. Sure, it looks like a bunch of boring words on a computer screen at first glance, but hopefully this video will have shown you just how much depth could be crammed into a game with absolutely no graphics at all. Although, obviously it helps if you've got a good imagination and a handful of feelies. Wait, what? If you enjoyed this little look at a long-lost Witness game, do give this video a like and subscribe for more from Eurogamer. I'm hoping to put up a new episode of Games You Never Knew Existed once every week or so, but if you can't wait for that, why not check out the episodes on screen right now, where I talk about the Crackdown game you never knew existed, the Destiny game you never knew existed, the Friday the 13th game you never knew existed, and the Star Fox games you never knew existed. Thanks for watching, and do have a lovely day. Goodbye.